Hi and welcome. Today we're gonna talk about Nmap. So Nmap all the time. We're gonna scan for the ports and it can do many more things. So this is just a basic introduction, like how to scan ports, but also an explanation to different kind of other aspects. So let's look at something I call the hackers methodology as the very first thing. So presented this slideshow for you guys. I want you to understand that there are many different ways you can perform a penetration test on a website. So usually you have this part called the reconnaissance or recon and analysis, where you're mapping application content and analyzing the application. Now, in between the number 1 and 2, there's the part where you need to figure out which ports are open for the server. Now, this is particularly made for website testing, but if you look at this like a bit more objective, you will see that there are room for actually scanning and do some active analysis of the server. So going back to the application here, let me just full screen it. I started up a Bolt. It's called Bolt. A Hero is Unleashed. It's just some room I found on TryHackMe. Really easy room I completed a long time ago. But this is really good for testing stuff. So what I'm going to do now is just go back here and say I need the IP address for Bolt, and you should think I'm good at copy pasting, but I'm horrible with it. So if you just go ahead and write nmap just like that and put in the IP address and press enter, it's gonna scan the server for the most 1,000 most popular ports on the machine. So we will find 3 open ports, but just typing nmap and the IP address, you will scan for the most 1,000 popular ports, and it does tell you that 997 closed ports not shown, because that are the ones of the other 3 plus the number equals 1,000. So that is the number of closed ports. So there are many different things you can do with Nmap, and I created, of course, something I can look at on my screen, because else I have to remember all these kind of things. So if you want to say that you want to scan, let's say, multiple targets, you can do that by saying this comma and then put in a new. Sorry, let me just clear that. By now you should think that I could copy paste, but I cannot copy paste. So by here you can put another IP address, like anything you would like to put, and you can even continue this so you scan more targets. Of course, this is still within the 1,000 port range. Alright, so you can also scan from a list of targets by saying you are going to create, let's say, a file called hosts.txt, for example, and then you nano into this host.txt, and inside that you save the IP address of, let's just take the real one that is up and running, like this, of the machine, and then you press enter. So you can save more IP addresses into this file, just make sure it's line separated. Then you can do stuff like nmap and say the lists of whatever host.txt, and then you just scan whatever all the hosts inside. So instead of writing comma IP address, you can do like a file and prepare and just give nmap. It's a difficult thing to say many times. Nmap that as a file, so it will read it and scan every single host. So sometimes you need to perform something called an aggressive scan. So let's just write nmap itself, and the -A, the capital A, will perform something called an aggressive scan. It will enable OS detection, version detection, script scanning, traceroute, and so on and so on. So if I just clear the screen and if I can type clear, that would help a lot. So you just do stuff like this and say, let's just keep it aggressive A, and press enter. You already notice that this takes a longer time to perform, because now I put on more options. It's an aggressive scan. Basically, what you should understand by this is aggressive means more traffic towards the server you're scanning. So you're scanning a lot more, and that is aggressive because you're spamming it with like, oh, about this and that, and more questions, stuff like that. So now we have a segmentation for that sometimes happen. It's something that, an issue with Nmap, just rerun it if that happens. I would really like to see this as a successful scan just for the video's sake. Let's see if we get it. I'm gonna pause the video until then. And happily so, we got it this time. And already you see that the very first time we got the segmentation fault, it's just some error in the program. You just run it again, and this time you got the same result, port 22, 80 and 8000 open. However, you got a lot more information. You got the versions, type of software, even guesses on which kind of operating system it's running on. I'm pretty sure it's a Ubuntu server. And also on TCP, it's Apache. This is the version, Ubuntu again. And we have a default page. It works. A lot of information just by providing the A. And if we go down a bit, we also have a fingerprint going on. This is the server fingerprint. So you can see that the following fingerprint at this IP address, but it's not recognized. But if you look at it, there's a pretty good chance by just reading the text you will see stuff like Ubuntu 18.4.1. That is the version. So you don't need to do a lot more than that. Just read the few lines and that's the operating system. That is aggressive scan. So you can also perform, if you're up against, let's say, an IP version 6 machine, you just write 6 and then you go ahead and supply any IP address that you would like, or you can of course do the IL and do host file or whatever you need to do. I don't have any IP version 6 going on, so I'm going to leave it this way. Now, there are many other popular types of scans you can do with Nmap. You can do something called a version scan. Basically, you're just typing S and the V, and let's just use the file for now, the file which is in the host. Running this scan will do a version scan on the host, which is one host. So you should get a little less information compared to the aggressive scan when you're running the version scan here. So just waiting a bit. I'm gonna pause the video until then, and we're back again. We got the same kind of fingerprint, but you can see that the different ports are still displayed with the information on the versions, and it's not the same information as the aggressive scan. As you remember, was a lot more to scroll through. However, the version scan itself is very common to do as a first scan, because just knowing a port is open is, of course 22, it's SSH, it's HTTP and so on, but sometimes 8000, what is this? This is a PHP, HTTP something running, so this is a web server, of course, but it's running up against some PHP service, and this is a version. But so the server of that is inside the host text file. In my occasion, it's only one server because I only put one IP address in the file. I know that the server is running a PHP engine, this version, and then I can look it up for any vulnerabilities and so on and so on. Clearing the screen again, going back to another example. There are many different types of scans you can do. You can also do a SYN scan. So when you're learning about the TCP protocol, you know that it got something called the three-way handshake. And the three-way handshake consists of sending a synchronization or SYN TCP package to the server saying, I want to synchronize with you. So the server sends back to you a synchronization acknowledgement package saying, I want to synchronize with you. But you were just doing a SYN scan, you're only doing the S part, so you're only doing the actual SYN package, you're getting something back, but you never supply the third response, the third joint in the three-way handshake, which is going to be the acknowledgement package. So you can do that by saying Nmap, if I can write it's good, like S like this, and let's just keep losing the files. So doing this kind of scan will of course require root privileges in this occasion. So I'm going to run it again, and what we see that these ports are open. Now, depending on which server it is, and does it have like a firewall and other kind of services, You know, syn scans could be successful or unsuccessful. So it's really fast, by the way, syn scan, really, really fast. You can also do something called a TCP connect scan as opposed to a syn scan. This is actually directly connecting, so that's ST, just run the same service again. And it took like a tad longer time, but not that much. However, if you're scanning for all ports, let's say it's 65,500 by supplying this, I think that's the right amount of argument, then you're scanning all ports available, like from 0 to 1 to 65,535 different ports. Well, then of course this will take quite a while. So I'm gonna quit this. You can also do a UDP scan if you wish to do this, and you need to scan for UDP protocol. Then it's just SU like this, and you can supply the host file again and do the scan. Require root privileges, so you supply the sudo and run again. Now, what this gets back to you now, imagine that this takes, not imagine, but look how long it actually takes. There's a really good chance that there's nothing running with the UDP protocol. So if so, it's an unpopular scan. I'm just gonna quit it. There are many other things you can do. I highly suggest you go and look at the Nmap. Just type it and go ahead and read different kind of scans. On the example below, you can see different examples of how to scan. Sometimes maybe you just wish to do, let's say, an OS detection, just a capitalized O like that, and just supply the same host again, file. So, and that require root privileges again. So you just run the scan with a capitalized O, and then you should get the operating system detection. You also get that with the aggressive scan with the capitalized A, but this is only for operating system. And you still see the free open scans, and you get the fingerprint here. So that's the operating system. There are many other things you could do with Nmap. However, I think for this video, as a basic introduction, I covered more than enough for you to have a really good workaround. One thing I would like to, well, not workaround, but an idea of how to use Nmap to mention is that the flag called no ping, let's just see where it is. I kind of forget all the flags because there's so many things to remember. Disable, no. Treat all, yeah, it's a PN, so it's a no ping. I think that is the one you're gonna use. So sometimes when you're doing machines on TryHackMe, they disable the protocol, the ICMP protocol, and Nmap will fail because it cannot discover the host. So it kind of thinks it's offline, so that you can supply the PN, also called the no ping flag. And let me just clarify this for you. Nmap PN no ping. Not that you need to write no ping, but yeah, Nmap scans the host but cannot ping the host. I think, whoa, what a pop up. So I think just by looking up the things, yeah, you should check firewalls allow ICMP protocol. So that is the PN flag. You should definitely not put on if the ICMP protocol is disabled. Let me just see if we can find how to disable ping. You can also do the PN, that is the one to use, but there are many different ways and options on Nmap for you to use this kind of flag. So I hope you liked the video, a basic, quick, dirty introduction to Nmap. And if you like my videos, I would like to ask you, please consider to subscribe to my channel. I have a lot of viewers that doesn't subscribe, and I would be really happy if we could reach a bigger community where we can share cybersecurity knowledge for you guys, free forever, of course. So please consider subscribing to my channel. If any questions or wishes, leave it in a comment below. I will read everything and comment back to you if you have any questions. So until then, bye, until next time.